What's going on, you guys? It's your Huggable Hipster here, and welcome back to another review. You know, it's one thing that, you know, you've been playing games for as long as I have, that you really kind of become desensitized to a lot of the games, a lot of horror, a lot of even psychological horror that's been happening in gaming recently. You're just like, oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Oh, that's good. That's great. Never has a game, I believe, besides Hellblade, touched me as emotionally and as raw and as real as this game, Death Stranding, has. This is also the first game I have ever played on a PC that has been switched from PlayStation. Because I believe recently they just switched over Horizon Zero Dawn to PC, and they did the same for Death Stranding. So the fact that I got to play this, the fact that I got to really immerse myself in a universe that I've wanted to for such a long time, just it's really amazing. So we're gonna go into the review for Death Stranding today. It's a long one, so please bear with me to the end. I promise it's going to be worth it. I'm very proud of this review and everything that has come from writing this. The amount of this game has just changed my perception, and it really sets the bar a lot higher for me as far as games go, what developers can do. So please be sure to stick through to the end. I promise you it's going to be worth it. This is the longest gaming article I have ever written, so this is going to be an in-depth review. So if you guys have the attention span for it, I would love to have you guys to the very end of the video. So grab a drink, grab a coffee, whatever your beverage or drink is of choice, and let's get into it. So we all have a unique death, a unique way that we take our final breath, the last bit of air that goes into our lungs. And the concept of death is something that has always been researched and contemplated, and it's still something that, you know, from the eons that time started, we've always questioned the concept of death, of where we came from. Death Stranding takes a unique approach to the concept of death, not only looking at it from a psychological implication, but the philosophical underpinnings, the concepts of abortion, a broken society, and that a simple choice can not only affect you, but everyone else around you. So the afterlife is one of confusion, doubt, debate, mysteries yet to be discovered. We're always having it as a hot topic, I feel, in the science world. So when it's brought up in Death Stranding that a person's journey, death slash time waiting is a place called the beach. Beach, in a sense, is a purgatory. Even though purgatory is hell in a lot of religions, this is a somewhat quote-unquote purgatory. The beach is also kind of a reflection, a doppelganger, if you will. While it is both, it is also neither, if that makes sense. It's something where it was a really interesting theme that I feel Kojima put into this game, of where you're in a waiting room that seems less ominous, more calming, rather than having a blank space, a page of nothingness and that fills the silence with unanswered questions. You have a beach, something that you can look out to, you can look out to the great beyond, and you can see forever. And that's really what death is, honestly. It's forever after. So next we're going into repatriation, being a repatriate, if you will. Repatriation is being able to return back to life from the seam. The person's soul is sent to the seam, and from the seam, the repatriate can find the strand, and from the strand, your soul goes into your body and returns you back to the land of the living. You can guide the soul through the seam, basically, to the strand, and you are awakened again. But once you go to the beach and you die, that's it. Lights out. Finito, you're done. There's no coming back after that. Then after you die in the beach, you go straight to the afterlife. A game mechanic as simple as dying over and over and over again got turned into a psychological point called repatriation, where life is a one-shot deal. You live, you grow old, you die, you're done. The fact that they take this kind of over and over psychological kind of metaphor to it, of you're doing the same thing, you wash, you rinse, you repeat kind of deal, and they take it to a point of where you're doing the same thing, right? it's not supposed to be that. Something that was done here was very psychological, you know, where you're guiding one's soul back to the body, also hints of resurrection, when typically you don't come back as the same person according to resurrection beliefs and what it is and what it entails. I believe it was Kojima's smart way of making a better flowing story. That way things would flow more seamlessly. No pun intended. On that same token, imagine dying and coming back to life after each time, you know, going over and dying and coming back and dying. As a repatriate, you have many deaths. You don't just have one. So it's showing you that your life is the choice of the soul rather than the avatar of what the soul is inhibiting. Now, going further into this concept of death and its meaning, you even see purpose in the things that Sam kills, you know? Like from the BTs, for example, that Sam kills, you get chiral crystals from those BTs. In turn, those things are used for the energy drinks. They're used to craft things. They're used to make different objects that you use during the game. So in that instance, death becomes life, and in turn becomes death, both benefiting from one another and coexisting to help the other out. The fact that everyone can benefit from each other, death can benefit from life, life can benefit from death, whatever state or form it's in, and I've never seen anything like that in a video game before. So we all want to be older, right? We all want to be older. We all want to look older. We all want to look younger at some point. It's this whole constant, you know, self-eroding cycle. Time falls is a really interesting theory concept that Kojima created. As the time falls and hits your skin or whatever surface it touches, it ages it. Now, when this trailer came out for Death Stranding in 2019, I actually came up with a theory as to what time falls could represent in Kojima's mind. My theory is that Kojima wanted to kind of look at society, look at how younger and older people are acting nowadays, and really analyze it in depth. So my theory was that he was using time falls to represent how younger people want to be older and how older people want to be younger. So it's kind of like this really dangerous mixture, if you will, this cacophony of different things that are used to describe society in a whole. This could be also analyzing how different members of the younger population look at plastic surgery, breast augmentations, Botox, liposuction, etc. You know, they're looking for a way to be immortal. Kojima kind of might be looking at that under a microscope and really dissecting it and looking at it and seeing what kind of things are happening in society and implementing that into his games. I'm not saying this is a reason all people get plastic surgery, okay? You know, some of them do because of underlying mental health and abusive conditions that they went through, but in no way am I saying that all people want to get plastic surgery just to look younger. That's only a very small percentage of the population, believe it or not. In this game, time falls is another worldly rainfall. If someone were to say, you know, stay outside, for example, more than 5 minutes, they would die. Then going back to the same cycle of death that is happening throughout the game. This really showcases, in a way, you know, how death is utilized in this game as a theme, and how Kojima is trying to point out that too much of anything will kill you, no matter what. It might not kill you right away, but in time. Let's go into the part of the game that really kind of like, it triggered me in a good way. Like, it made me very much like, yes, they're talking about the hard things. Kojima's actually discussing things that matter, and it makes me so happy, and that would be bridge babies. So a bridge baby, also known as a BB, which I think is so cute. Oh my god, it's such a cute nickname. It always just reminds me of streamers on Twitch whenever they're like, oh my god, BB. I'm like, what are you saying, and did you malfunction? I know it's like an abbreviation for baby, but it's just like, I don't know, it makes me cringe. So a bridge baby, also known as a BB, is an unborn fetus that has been taken from the still mother. I know, creepy, hang in there with me. The mother's womb facilitates a connection between the land of the dead and the bridge baby. That way, it's allowing Bridge's ability to detect BTs and other types of phenomena. The concept of using an unborn fetus as a tool has a political and philosophical narrative to it, in my take, because whenever you're thinking of abortion, you're thinking of, oh, pro-left, oh, pro-right, oh, do we choose for the mother or do we let the mother choose for herself? From a philosophical standpoint, it stands because you have this baby who's not born yet. Of course, it's going to be a link to the dead, but also to the mother. Babies that are in the mother's womb are a link to the dead, but also linked to the world of the living. And since a baby is not yet born, it'll be easier to connect to the beach to do testing and really discover what the afterlife is to an extent, even though they're not part of the afterlife, but they can still be a part of it. That was the only part of the game that slightly had me confused, only slightly, because it seems like it was contradicting itself. Now, the use of the bridge baby, as far as the game goes, is one of reciprocation in Sam's case. He wants to keep the baby because this is going to be filled with spoilers, so I should probably put in the title, spoiler alert. Sam knows that the baby can only be used for a year at the most, to knowing that there is a 70% chance that the baby won't survive if taken out of the pod, to knowing that he has to cremate the baby at the final part of the game. Spoiler alert, he doesn't cremate the baby, he only cremates the wrist cuffs, not the baby, so good news. The baby, whose name is Louise, survives and literally is a testament and a metaphor for the survived abortion. Like, it really is. It's a metaphor for the baby who was going to be aborted and was not. So now we're going into extinction entities, EEs for abbreviation, and man, this part of the game, this is imbued in science and I love it so much. So in the universe, there have been 5, quote 'em, 5 mass extinctions. Our universe has been through hell. Or technically it's been through purgatory. I mean, either way, potato, potato. So there are some quotes that I'm going to be gathering for you guys. They're not going to be up on the screen since I am taking my references from my own article, but the links to the articles that I did use as part of my research for my article that I wrote will be down in the description below, so you guys can view them there. So in the universe, there have been 5 mass extinctions. The first one was the end Ordovician, if I'm even pronouncing that correctly. It's the 1-2 punch. Ice sheets changed from radically changing ocean currents, creating harsh climates in about 86% of species and 57% of genera. The next highest taxodema division, which may be better gauged of biodiversity loss, went extinct. That was the first extinction. The second extinction is the end Davidian, for example, consisted of a series of pulses in climate change over 20 million years plus that led to a periodic and sudden drops in biodiversity, including the Hagenberg crisis, which some researchers consider a separate mass extinction. The third mass extinction, called the end Permian, volcanic activity in what is now Siberia, is considered the main culprit for the mightiest of mass extinctions. Region-wide eruptions spewed toxic gas and acidified the oceans. Yikes. The disruption may have even shrouded the ozone layer, allowing in deadly ultraviolet radiation. The fourth mass extinction, which is one of the heavier ones that we've experienced as a whole, is the end of the Triassic. The volcanoes were at it again, but this time we can't blame Siberia. Instead, massive eruptions in a hot spot at the center of what would eventually be the Atlantic Ocean created another bout of climate calamity. And the fifth and final mass extinction was the end of the Cretaceous period. So this remains hotly debated, and no one disputes that a chunk of the space rock slammed into the planet near Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula at the time, but researchers disagree on whether or not the asteroid strike caused or merely contributed to the die-off of the dinosaurs, as they all went up, looked in the sky, and was like, oh, shiny bright light. Now, this is the part where it gets a little bit confusing for some people, which I completely understand. There's a lot that's in here, and there's a lot that's in this particular section, if you will, in regards to Amelie as the EE and Bridget, her mother, and all that kind of thing, so hang in there with me. So I'm gonna break this down in a way that is as simplistic as I can make it, because I can't make it any more simple than this, and all the research that I've done is as simplistic as how I'm going to say it. So Amelie is the Ka, the soul, the extinction entity recognized as the daughter of her part of her Ha body. The Ha is the body. President Bridget Strand. This is the part where people go, huh? Like, they got a little bit confused and went a little bit like, what? Amelie is Bridget. Bridget is Amelie. They are the same part of the same coin. Okay? The soul and the body work in tandem. So if you have the other you that makes you that are linked, they are the same. The Ha and the Ka, both parts of you, they are linked together. When you die, those separate. This didn't happen with Amelie and Bridget, who are the same person. Her Ha and her Ka still worked in tandem, even though technically Bridget was half dead and her soul was on the beach somewhere, roaming around, all free. going crazy. So now that we've covered that, we've covered the one of the more confusing parts of the game for some people, which is probably one of the more easier parts for me to understand. I'm not trying to gloat here. It was just a really easy part for me to understand, okay? I love learning about philosophy, and we learned about the hot and the ka in college. So for me, I was like, okay, I remember that. My lectures. Got it. So not only are we fighting BTs in this game, and I have a wonderful baby sidekick. By the way, she's adorable. I mean, you know, Louise, she's to die for. I love the kid. We have a wonderful baby sidekick to help us out and reunify the states of America. The entire game has a main plot line, and there are many different subplot lines to go along with it, which is also why the game is so long to begin with too. I finished the game in 46 hours. Still need to get the other achievements. I have like 38 out of 68 achievements, I think. No, 63 achievements. 38 out of the 63. There are 63 achievements. I miscounted. Sorry. The entire game has a main plot line, subplot lines like I've stated before, but the main plot line is the reunification of the United States of America through the chiral network. Since there are many plot lines, there's subplot lines, there's one main overarching plot line within this game, and that's the reunification of the United States of America through the chiral network. Something I feel very fortunate actually to see as an American. Kojima, who is a Japanese game developer who is making this game actually around the time that Donald Trump was elected, he's seeing this. And he's seeing this entire thing go on. I'm guessing he watches the news quite frequently, or else he wouldn't have been able to put something like this into the game. You know, so when he wants us to reunify the United States of America, he's saying, hey, I see you. I see what you're going through. I see, you know, a lot of the things that you are dealing with, and it's okay. So, you know, I thought that was kind of, you know, hit close to home. And you know what? On the surface, for people who don't want to look deep into the game, some may see it as a walking simulator where you're a delivery man who has now become the chosen one and has to, you know, reunify the country with a baby. I understand, you know, simplistically, on a very, very, very simplistic level, I get how it can come off to people. But the way I see this game as a multifaceted universe that shows vulnerability, strength, kindness, hardships, weakness, determination, fragility, and all above, the willpower to see the next moment through to the very end. You know, from Mama holding her dead child to Hartman, who is a repatriate trying to find his family every 20 minutes when he has a cardiac arrest, you know, to Dead Man, who is literally a living Frankenstein, to Die Hard Man, who has to choose between his country and his comrade, to, you know, to Cliff, who just wanted to be a father but got caught up in political circumstances, and, you know, to Bridget, who is a woman who thought she was doing right by her country but was being manipulative the entire time and was lying about everything, which then leads to Sam, who is a repatriate who has a phenophosophobia, the fear of being touched, and trust issues, which lead him to finding Louise, which is the only thing that he really cares about, you know. And it's quite sentimental when it gets down to it, honestly. So let's go into some graphics, controls, and music. Oh my, I'm so excited. So this game is very special to me, like I said, for many reasons, besides the fact that, you know, this is a Kojima game. It is the first game that I've ever played that is a PS4 game. You know, what a way to introduce the franchise to me. When I saw the graphics in unison with the controls, I actually cried. Like, if Kojima or Norman Reedus are actually seeing this review ever, like, I'm not afraid to admit, I bawled like a baby. Okay, I did. Especially, like, when it came to BB's theme, like, I cried. Not afraid to admit it, I cried. Graphics played out like a movie. The cutscenes alone, when it got intense, were like 2 to 3 minutes long. The game is just a playable movie from start to finish. Like, it's absolutely incredible. The way that this game had me in just a ball of emotions from the first moment that I started to the end, which was just an emotional mess, to say the least. I only ever had one little graphical problem, which the game froze on me, I think maybe once, but besides that, I had no graphical issues or stalls with the game whatsoever. This kind of just raises the bar. Like I said, you know, it raises the bar for me and what game studios can accomplish. You know, they can do this. They have the ability to. We know Kojima did it, so, you know, any game developer out there, you can do it too. So where does it all go from here? And let's go into my closing thoughts. So, speaking of Norman Reedus, Speaking of Norman Reedus, he was originally supposed to be in PT Silent Hills, which, as you all know, got canceled and we got saved, reborn, however you want to put it with this game. This is Silent Hill. For all intents and purposes, this is a game that Kojima wanted to make but never could at Konami. Masterpiece in its own right, which is why 7 years later, the demo of PT Silent Hills is one of the most iconic ones that is ever made over the decade and why it's still remembered. I wish for Kojima to keep making the games that speak to him and then in turn speak to us, because as gamers we can be rather greedy at times. We can. You know it, I know it, we all know it. And we forget sometimes that things are better left alone, to rest in peace. And the legacy of Silent Hill isn't going anywhere. Those characters are going to stay in our hearts forever. They are forever imprinted in the hearts of many. And Kojima, as a developer, he grew, he changed, and he created what he wanted to. At the end of the day, we should allow him that creative freedom to be able to do what he wanted to, not demand for a remake every 5 seconds. And with change, we are seeing more complex works come from Kojima. And in order to create a better future, you can't dwell on the past. You can't, it's impossible. If we could take anything away from this game and Kojima's message, it's that everyone has a different beach. Your beach, your death is special because it's you. Your life should be equally special and just as unique. So you guys, that is it for this review. As I'm still like in kind of like a whirlwind that I actually got to play this game. It's actually really, really amazing. And I love this game. I loved it so much. I would replay it in a heartbeat, but also part of me is like, that was a one-time play. That was something that hit my heart so powerfully that I think once was impactful enough. But you guys, if you all like this review and you like my face and what I do, please be sure to subscribe and hit that bell down below, because I make videos every Monday, Wednesday, and double uploads on Friday. And stay casually nerdy. Now I'll see you all in the next video. The next game that I'm going to be reviewing is Never Ending Nightmares. I'm so excited for this game. This is one that's been on my to-do list for quite some time. So be sure to check out my Twitter for the banner profile change, because as you guys know, every game that I play, the banner on my Twitter will be indicative of the game that I'm playing. But you guys, stay casually nerdy, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.